The U.S. military is tracking another balloon. Pentagon scrambles jets to investigate high-altitude object of unknown origin over Colorado. A balloon? What if it's not a balloon? What if it's an alien? Or a alien jellyfish?
We just did this. We did this like a year ago, almost exactly a year ago over Montana. Did we learn nothing from the plot of that movie? I don't understand.
I think this is hilarious. It's not a surprise. I'm a little surprised that the feds have not done anything, that the military hasn't scrambled it to actually take it down. You might make the argument that, it's probably a financial loser to knock it out of the sky, but that doesn't change the fact that it is an election year, and Joe Biden is uniquely unpopular. He's got some of the lowest approval ratings in recent history, definitely. And to just allow it to go over the U.S. after the last time.
So
seems
we got
bad to me.
Tuberville is selling stock.
Optics,
Bezos is selling stock. Zuckerberg is selling stock. And we had this question from Quiver Quant, is the Quiver Quantitative on Twitter. They had this video where they're like, why are these people dumping these stocks? You know, some of these people in Congress, they know what's about to happen because they're passing these bills. And I'm kind of like, yeah, maybe their strategy is that Trump just wins and they're going to destroy the market. So that's their plan.
Well,
to bring it into this, like the reason they don't care about the balloons, they don't care about Biden's polling, is that they've resigned him to defeat.
Well, I know why Jeff Bezos sold his stock, because he's moved to Florida and he doesn't want the capital gains tax, I think, of Washington.
Oh, that's interesting.
So typical.
But why
Bezos,
sell? I mean, if he moved to Florida, then he's already avoided it.
Well, yeah, but maybe he was looking to cash in his chips. I don't know.
In Florida with no income tax. He moved to Florida, no income tax, cashes out chips.
Yeah, but if he'd sold them in Washington, he would have incurred a lot.
There's income tax. So that's what you got to do.
Well, is it income or capital gains tax?
Income tax. Oh, right. Well, for stock, it could be. It depends. It would probably be capital gains.
Yeah,
right?
I think it would be capital gains. But typical Jeff Bezos isn't. Well, I mean, I don't know a lot about Jeff Bezos, but typical of a Democrat to move to Florida, reap all the benefits.
I do feel like there is a certain amount of truth to the idea that once you become a billionaire, the normal Republican and Democrat kind of ideologies become less important, and you're more concerned about conserving your wealth regardless of who's actually
I don't get it. I really don't get it. Like, I don't know what these people want to do with that money. I don't know what you would do as a human being with $5.6 billion.
Well, he's got a lot more than that.
No, but that's what he cashed out.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Like, what do you do with it? I'm not kidding. Like, I just genuinely don't get it. Look, we've rented big boats in Miami, and it's like $6,000 to rent an 80-footer or whatever.
It could be.
Bezos has that.
What do you do with more than that?
Well, the thing is,
Bezos has that new wife, fiance. She has to wear like the multi-million-dollar engagement ring. The thing is, he has a girl to spend it on.
I'm sorry,
now.
but she is gross.
I imagine.
I'm sorry to say, but
I imagine if you're taking out that kind of money, there's some kind of business that you're trying. Like maybe he's got to give money to, what is it? His rocket company. I forget the name of the company. Blue Origin, I think. Blue Origin, yeah. Has to give money to Blue Origin for something. Rocket. Yeah, or something like that. Maybe he's using it to fund something else. I don't think that maybe he's buying a yacht, but I mean,
I suppose if you want to go to space.
One?
Like, I suppose going to space, you want to, Elon, I get that.
I'm kind of surprised he wants to sell the Washington Post because...
He does?
Yeah, well, that was the story at one point. But they are losing, well, in fairness to him, they're losing $100 million a year. Yeah. And I respect the fact that he is basically saying, I'm not going to subsidize this. However, if I were in his position, being a kind of Machiavellian tyrant, I would want to own the Washington Post so I could,
I think that's why he bought it in the first place, right? So he could own it.
So why is he getting rid of it? Because it's losing too much money.
Because he was being attacked by the people he was trying to control.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Communism is not a functioning business model. And so he's thinking, if I buy this, I'm the boss, I'm in charge, and then I can control the influence. And then what happens? The communists start banging their heads on the wall, and he's like, I can't make them do anything. They don't understand compensation. Look.
The union.
It's not even about the union. It's you go to these people and say, look, I'm the boss, I run the company, right? okay, I am paying you $100,000 a year to write the articles the company wants written. And they go, no. And he's like, well, then I'm going to fire you. And they go, you can't fire me. We're going to complain and go protest. And then he's like, oh, geez.
Well, they're entitled. I mean, this is typical kind of liberal elitist attitude.
Don't hire
they
communists.
Need more.
Don't hire communists.
Yeah, I mean,
best advice you'll ever
could
hear.
Call them communists, I guess.
The Washington Post employs.
He's definitely not a communist.
No, and he bought a company that hired a bunch of communists, and now he's like, what am I supposed to do with this? They don't work and they don't care about compensation.
I wonder how many actual journalists out there nowadays are not somehow left-leaning and sympathetic to socialism or on some
93%, I think the
degree.
stats recently.
Is it really? Have you
Yeah,
saw
it's that high.
Oh God, that's gross.
Like conservatives
Finally, a
have left the
minority.
industry.
I'm so excited.
It's so ridiculous to think that an entire industry should have the same politics and also be charged with keeping the government honest, which is allegedly, ostensibly the role of a free press is to, keep the powerful held to account. And that's not happening at all. It is exclusively keeping political opponents of the existing power structure at bay.
Right.
So,
it was about questioning the narrative that the government put forward, and now it's more likely that they're just amplifying the talking points that the White House.
Well, the CIA
handed
learned
down.
real quick.
Yeah, that's true.
They were like, why do we have these people
yeah.
telling our secrets? Let's just own them.
If you look at the people that go on Morning Joe, like that's where, if you really want to know like who is making the decisions and stuff, not that you should agree with these people, but if you want to see who's making decisions like at State Department, at the Council on Foreign Relations, at at Davos, etc. If you want to see those people and hear them talk without going to their TED Talks or watching their Davos stuff, just watch Morning Joe. They have people that are former CIA. They have the intelligence apparatus on all the time. They have the FBI, the security apparatus on all the time. Those are the people that go in and talk. You'll hear all the talking points and you'll get a really good idea of what the bureaucracy is thinking just by watching Morning Joe and listening to what they say, because for the most part, they generally tell you,
I think if you're starting a company, you should have a test where you ask them what 2 + 2 equals. And if they put 5, you do not hire them. And people are going to be like, what? And then you're going to be like, it's a test. And then they might think, I should put 5 to prove a point. And then you're like, you can leave the office. You are an insane person.
It's sad that we have to come to that, though. Like, that everything is so warped that we have to start testing people to whether or not they can state the truth. I mean, call me optimistic, but once upon a time, it didn't have to be like this.
That's because you had people that agreed on the general narrative of what the country was.
Yeah.
For the most part, up until about the 80s, 90s.
But it's not just that. They are literally saying 2 + 2 = 5.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm not arguing that, because they're not, again, this is something that I talk about.
Mentally ill.
What?
I believe. So I think legitimately and genuinely that there are like histrionic, there are a general plethora of variety of mental illnesses, neurodivergence as it were, who are loud and online and have with disturbed like fervor pushed their way into positions of it's not even right to say positions, like they scream really loud. Yeah, and normally when the guy was on the side of the road yelling the end was nigh, you drove past him.
The left definitely attracts like those personality traits, more neurotic, more because that's the message that they're sending. The world is ending. We need to we need to worry about the climate change, and we need to worry about the fascists, and the earth is going to burn, and et cetera, et cetera. They tend to attract the neurotic.
Mm-hmm. And they can enforce compliance through fear.
Yeah, exactly.
Which neurotic thrives on.
But you do see it.
This was what was interesting to me about the military, or this balloon story, is that the press immediately ran it as it is a military balloon. We're gonna engage with it, and that was the government's position. Whereas the last time this happened, they were like, it's we don't know what it is. UFO, weather balloon. We don't know where it is.
I strongly believe that it's because it's an election year.
Yeah.
Strongly believe.
What was when was the Chinese spy balloon story?
That was February of last year. And it floated over Montana, and then eventually, when it crossed the U.S., they were like, we took it down. No worries. Good for us. Yeah, but this year, they're like, it's military. We're engaging with it. It's very different. I mean, if you are the American people, either they have learned from the fact that the Americans were frustrated, or they want the narrative to be like we are more engaged and active in an active government, whereas last year they were trying to pretend like they weren't being threatened by China as blatantly as they were.
How any person, no, hold on, let me pause. This is why I say they're mentally ill, okay? And I'm not trying to be mean to them. I'm trying to point out a very serious affliction this country is dealing with. Anybody who says they support Joe Biden at this point is part of a group of people who are suffering some kind of cognitive deficiency.
Well, I put it more down to ignorance. A lot of them.
No.
I mean, how many people I've met?
Cognitive deficiency.
I've met a lot of basically decent people, right, who are Democrats or leftists or whatever. Let's just say Joe Biden voters. And the overwhelming impression I have of them is that they're ignorant. They don't really
And
follow
they come
politics.
out outright and say, I'm such a big supporter of Joe Biden?
Maybe not, but they vote for him.
Well, okay, so anybody who is supporting Joe Biden has a cognitive deficiency.
I tend to agree.
Anyone you ask who actually says, I'm going to vote Democrat, will outright be like, I get it.
And as my dad,
I know Joe Biden's busted and messed up, but I don't like Trump. Okay, I get that. But there are people who in polled say like, I think Joe Biden's doing a great job. I'm like, something is wrong upstairs.
It is weird seeing how many people will respond to these things being like, I think the country is on the right track. This is good.
well, that is a small proportion, to be fair.
But that there are any.
It's the dude riding the atomic bomb in what is it, Dr. Strangelove. Yeah. Those are people getting a call from the pollster and being like, it's great. Everything's great. Stay the course.
There are people that as long as they themselves are not suffering, they will reject the idea that the people they prefer are failing or that that there are people that are suffering. And it gets more acute the more financially successful the people are. Obviously, if you're making $250,000 a year and you're not struggling, and you can pay for all the things that you could pay for last year, you might notice that things are more expensive, but it doesn't hurt the same way that it does to someone that's making $80,000 or $70,000 a year. So it matters.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.